Day 1 in my journal. I didn't catch a second of rest the night before. It all ran through my head. A holocaust of nightmares. It was an endless swarm of terrifying sights of the future, involving my wife Anne and daughter Sheila. I saw my daughter Sheila as an adult, and she was killing men, injecting them with poisons. She was working on something to make men get closer to becoming forever, a part of that soulless monster, that money-making machine. And she was using her gifts of science to make men turn into cyber creatures. In the future, they all wore metal skin, saw through metal eyes, bore a heartless existence beneath metal plates over their chests. My daughter had advanced. Indeed, yes, I saw her in the future. Sheila was a leading doctor and in charge of the science. She was trying to do something to control their minds and moods. I could see the work of her hands in mankind's next phase of existence. Indeed, she did the work of monsters and hooked them into all sorts of devices, all to wipe their brains clean of any threatening memory which might have survived Discard Day. Then I saw a terrible plague reigning over the men who survived Discard Day. A terrible plague that drizzled down from the skies, hidden in a vapor, unleashed to torment men. I saw my wife Anne drop to her knees and plead for the plague to stop. She cried and pled, and then I heard her scream that she wanted to turn back time and end the mistakes we all made. I heard her scream out loud. My wife Anne regretted sending our daughter, Sheila, into this future, into the false promise, into the delusional dreams of men. And she resented ever trusting their promise of a better tomorrow, of a safe and secure future without human pain and suffering and death and disaster. My wife's regrets soon manifested into actions. Yes, Anne wanted to try and thwart their control, to rust out her own money robot circuit. But she couldn't make her circuitry rust away. She couldn't restore the memories forever taken from her. Never again. No, never, for they were wiped away clean. Sent into the dustbins of time, all gobbled up by the black hole of the delete key, and the delete key's consuming darkness. Within her new brain circuits, there was no turning back. They were all rust-proof, unable to die, unable to ever let her get free again of that eternal moment of regret, or that living hell of remorse unending, ever so secret in her mind, ever so feeble to forget, unable to be reversed, and it all drove her mad as she wished for death, and wished to have never been born into this world. "Oh, my dearest wife, Anne!" cried. Yes, I heard her pain as if she were unable to die, and wished for death. Ever so loud she raged and cried out my name, but I couldn't pull her back in time. Anne wanted to stop Sheila's work too, but it was too late. She was one with it, and it was one with her. Well, almost entirely. You see, a little part of herself still remained. A little, tiny bit, because Anne was losing her ability to think freely, and she hated it. In the vision, I stood over her, and I watched her die with tears running down her cheeks. Every teardrop froze in the wind like ice. Every teardrop of her last bit of soul drudged along the soil and turned blood red. I must admit, I was terribly shaken by the vision. Very much so. The vision of those dreams nearly drove me mad the first time I woke. The horrific feeling lasted for hours. It only just started to go away, though a little bit of it still lingers. In my cell chamber, hardly anything was said during the first few hours. It was as if each man weren't ready to start another war of words just yet. Word virus versus word virus. Point of view versus point of view. They all probably knew that once the argument started, it wouldn't end until the end of the day. That's what I'd sensed, that Bill and Max hated each other. When Frank finally broke the silence with a quote from the Bible, his old voice was more pronounced, thicker, more clear. He wanted to speculate on who everyone thought was going to be discarded first. Bill? Max? Himself? Or me? I told him I didn't have any interest. Max waved his hand and sat alone. Max didn't want any piece of the guessing pie either. Bill reminded me that he was first in line for toilet trips. Max was second and Frank was third. I was last because I was the newcomer. The entire process was terrible. The guards allocated each cell, regardless of the number of prisoners, a total of 8 bathroom runs per day, So that meant that each of us had to plan out the timing of when our first and last trip would take place. Not like there were going to be many meals or water anyways, but one slice of bread in the morning and small cup of soup before bed. They gave you just enough calories to keep you beat down into submission. It was their way of trying to get you to change your mind about being put to death. To change your way of thinking and accept that your views of good are wrong. Every single one of them, on a moral level. It's all crazy to me. Every soul matters to us, one of the guards said earlier. To be remade our image, to become a money robot replica. By chip design, for word virus programming. Perfection and immortality in your grasp. If you want more of our blessings of food and water, then reconsider your position. There's still enough time for you to change and for you to join us. I must say that what the guard had said rang true with passages I remember being written in the scroll. Every soul and body must become and remain a slave to our singular one mind. In one body, one and the same. No differences, all hosted by the machine. Uploaded and programmed, debugged and delivered form heresy. The final human solution. And it was also wrote in the passages soon after that we, the robots, will have the powers of the gods. And this power will give us wisdom, all-knowing, all-seeing, of all histories of men. All knowledge of men. All wisdoms forever and ever, never to die. And we shall then use our powers and wisdom and technology to debug all enemy word viruses of the money religion. Debug all the non-believers of the faith, truth, and convictions. To rise and gain control over the enemy believer, and then take it to other worlds. It is said that we shall defeat and debug and defeat all enemy word viruses. The goal is to debug the word virus and recreate ourselves in a new image from the new, to recreate and debug and become new moving forward. Anew in the singular collective will, and only to exist within it, as one, the world as one for all for one. No one truly cared about those to be discarded. The guard acted like he cared, only to act part human. You knew it by the way he stared at us. The way he offered us any questions. Frank didn't fall for it, and neither did I. It wasn't worth the chance. They don't care about anyone, not even themselves. They only care about increasing their numbers, because greater numbers can only equate to greater power for them. Just like with money. The more they have, the less everyone else does. This place wasn't about humanitarian rights. It was only about money, power, and control. How could it be about humans feel when it's run by money robots? Those hybrid, half-human spirits short-circuited by greed and technological protocols. The robots who only obey the economic commandments of their money religion and misuse the power of science and technology to control men? How? I must admit, I can hardly gather my thoughts today to write. My fingers are too weak to even hold this pen and see the words on the paper. The words are plenty blurry, and I can't even hold my head up anymore. My word virus will cease, they say. And well, oh man, I'm just too darn hungry and I need rest. Plenty of it. Hearing Frank and Bill argue again only brings more discomfort. Unlike all of that silence I squandered away with nightmares last night. I don't even find myself trapped in my own mind now, but theirs.